All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got some more playoff football to dive into in today's video. We're going to be looking at the Rams and the Vikings wild card game. In this video, I'm going to dive into this one. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props. I think I have 3 or 4 as of right now, but we'll talk about any other player props that I like in the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. Absolutely free down in the pinned comment if that does interest you. But like I said, we got the Rams taking on the Vikings. One thing to note is that this is, yes, a road game for the Vikings, but it's not a home game for the Rams. The 4th seed Rams at 10-7 this year, taking on the 5th seed Vikings, who are 14-3. A 3-loss team as the road team is crazy, as the 5th seed, but I guess they have Detroit to thank for that. But this game has been moved to Arizona because of all the wildfires. And first off, if you are affected by it, or anyone that you know, friends, family, anything affected by it, hopefully you guys are staying safe, and hopefully that situation is resolved. It's absolutely terrible. But yes, this game has been moved from SoFi to Arizona. Obviously still somewhat of, I guess, a home game for the Rams, but just overall, I don't think it's going to make too much of an impact here, but just FYI, watching this, if you didn't know, this is not being played in LA. It's going to be played in Arizona. But right now, Rams sitting at 2.5-point dogs at home. The total sitting at 48. Let's dive into it, guys. But first, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You guys have been absolutely supporting the heck out of the channel as of late. Cannot thank you enough. I thought that bad boy right there would be the milestone, right? That 100K plaque, and it was. It's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity and to have this platform and to be able to achieve that. But man, oh man, the grind does not stop. On to more and more. You guys have been absolutely electric as of late. So hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. Drop all your favorite plays down in the comments. I don't know how many times I've seen some absolutely spot on plays down in the comments that I would never even think to open that door or, look under that rock, that type of thing. So drop your plays in the comments. But let's dive into this one. Like we've been doing as of late, I think I want to go through sort of the quarterback matchup / the offense versus defense matchups. Then we'll get to our spread lean as well as the total lean. And like I said, I have 3 or 4 player props to dive into here as well. So let's start with the offense of the Rams taking on Minnesota's defense, okay? So first and foremost, that's the offense of Minnesota taking on the Rams defense. Boom, that's the right folder. All right, first and foremost, we do have an amazing Minnesota defense. We know that, right? If we look at this on the dashboard here, our Guy Boston Sports dashboard, the number 2 defensive DVOA team this season, number 1 against the pass, number 5 against the rush. Speaking of rush, this team has been very, very good against the rush all year long. You could see it here, 2nd fewest rushing yards per game allowed. Now, they were winning in a lot of games, so obviously teams are going to be throwing on them a little bit more. The rush frequency might not be there, but even if you do dig into a couple advanced metrics, I guess I should say, in terms of efficiency, they had in the last, I want to say 9 weeks. Yes, 9 weeks, right? So week 10 included on. The run defense of this Minnesota team has been great. 4th fewest in terms of yards per carry against, number 1 in terms of EPA against, and then 3rd in success rate. So even without the quantity, if you look at the quality, still a very good rush defense, which means this guy on the screen, Matt Stafford, is going to have to most likely have a good game to keep the underdog Rams in this one, right? And so let's take a peek at it, because this Minnesota team does a couple things defensively that are worth noting. First and foremost, they're 2nd over the last 10 weeks here in blitz rate. Again, number 2, so they're going to blitz a lot. They are not necessarily pressuring the quarterback. They are not sacking the quarterback, but they do draw up a ton of blitzes, okay? And then in terms of coverage, they're going to play more zone than man, and then slightly more 2 high safety looks in that zone than the 1 high safety look. So how does Stafford, compare against blitz versus no blitz? Then we can look at, obviously, zone versus man, and then also 2 high safety versus 1 high safety. Those few things we can look at for Stafford, and honestly, looks pretty good. If we look at Stafford versus blitz versus no blitz, over the last 10 weeks or so, he's been a lot better against the blitz than no blitz. 67.2% completion percentage versus blitz, no blitz 63. 10.2 yards per attempt versus 6.6. 48.3% success rate against 48. That stays kind of flat. His accuracy jumps a few points as well, from 68.7 against no blitz when he is blitzed up to 72%. EPA goes up 8 points. DVOA against the blitz is at 50% for the positive, and then it's only 19 19%, which is still a fine DVOA when it's no blitz. But again, that's a massive, 30% difference. Turnover worthy throw, though, he does turn the ball over in terms of, not turn the ball over actually, but in terms of worthy throws. So even if they aren't picks or aren't turned over, the throws are worthy of it. It does double when he's up against the blitz. So maybe his decision making isn't always, on par with what it should be. But overall, completion percentage, yards per attempt, success rate, accuracy, EPA, DVOA, all green light for Stafford to have a good game. Now, we said they play more zone, Minnesota, right, than man. Stafford has some good metrics against zone. He has some tough ones here. I would say for the most part, it is a good situation. Completion percentage jumps up, success rate jumps up, accuracy jumps up, DVOA jumps up. The only things that are negative would be turnover-worthy throws, slightly more of those. EPA just slightly down, and then yards per attempt down less than 1 yard per attempt. So overall, those two things, blitz and then zone, I would say are heavily in favor of Stafford and indicative of him having a good game, which is obviously super important because I mentioned that run defense of Minnesota. Kyren Williams is phenomenal, we know that, but if they can't run the ball, they're going to rely on their veteran quarterback who has tons of experience, right? Now, we mentioned the slightly more too high safety than one high safety look. When I say slightly, it is just a matter of percentage, right? A very small margin, and Stafford isn't very good against too high compared to one high. He much would prefer the one high, so if we want to take something away, it sounds like I'm bragging all about Stafford here. If there's one negative to point out, it is that too high safety look. But overall, I think this is a pretty favorable matchup for Matthew Stafford on the offensive end. Even if they do blitz him, he should still be able to deal with that. And obviously, he has some weapons out there now. They've gotten more healthy. His receivers are there. He should be able to deal with this blitz fairly well. Now, on the other hand, let's flip it over to Sam Darnold. Before we talk about him, the run game, we've been seeing this Rams defense kind of get chewed up for the majority of the season to some degree, right? We look at it from a DVOA perspective, 26th defense, 21st against the rush. That is not all that great. You could see it right here, 22nd in terms of rushing yards allowed per game, 130. They've been a little bit better as of late, we can say that, but overall, their last few games have been against not exactly the best of or the creme de la creme opponents, right? They closed out the year facing the Jets, Arizona, and Seattle. So I'm not putting too much stock into those games being good. This should be a team that, Sam Darnold and the offense can draw up some plays to get Aaron Jones involved. We'll talk about Aaron Jones in a little bit. But in terms of where the passing game comes into play here, the Rams are going to blitz a decent amount. It's not a crazy amount, but I think it's worth looking into, I guess, for Darnold. Against the blitz, his completion percentage drops 5%, which is, not all that terrible, but it's not great for sure. Success rate drops about 5 points. Accuracy drops a little bit. EPA goes from 44 down to 13. DVOA from 23 to 19. Doesn't turn the ball over that much against the blitz, and his yards per attempt actually goes up. So there is more bad than good for Darnold here, but again, I do think they'll be able to run the ball and hopefully open up some more space for Darnold to have success here, but I still think that, if you're just looking at the blitz rate against the quarterback, Matthew Stafford kind of has the upper hand here. In terms of coverage, this Rams team over the last 10 weeks really has been mixing up man versus zone week to week. So if we call it a 50-50 split, we don't have to necessarily dig into Darnold versus man versus zone. But one thing that we can see is that this Rams team runs a ton of high safety, one high safety. Whether it is man versus zone, anything like that, there's a ton of high safety looks that they're throwing at you. And Darnold kind of wishy-washy against one high safety looks. His yards per attempt, accuracy rate, EPA, and DVOA all go up. But on the other side of things, we see his completion percentage, his success rate, and his turnover-worthy throw all turn into the red against that. So overall, again, kind of just wishy-washy there. I don't think Darnold's in as great of a position as Stafford, but if they can establish the run early, which again, they're going up a Rams team that they should be able to do fairly well against. We looked at the numbers in terms of DVOA and yards per game, but in the last 10 weeks here, Rams allowing the 5th most yards per carry. They rank 19th in EPA and 20th in success rate. So that run game is a benefit of the Vikings that I don't think the Rams are going to have. So even though Darnold may not be in the most, primed situation here, I think Minnesota's offense should be able to move a little bit. Last time these teams played, which was back in late-ish October, right? It was a 30-20 win for the Rams, which is a good sign for that because Matthew Stafford, everything we're seeing right here kind of aligns with that. Matthew Stafford went out there 25 of 34 for nearly 280, 4 tugs, and 1 interception. And Sam Darnold, 18 of 25, 240, and 2 touchdowns. So he didn't have this like stellar game, but it's kind of like what we've been saying, right? Just kind of right there, not enough to make it a bad game, not enough to obviously put them over the edge. Aaron Jones, 19 attempts, 58 yards, not all that tremendous. The one thing that I don't think will be the same as it was back then in this game is Kyren Williams absolutely going off. 23 touches, or 23 carries, I should say, 97 yards. He did have, I think it was 5 receptions for 19 yards, so over 25 touches for him, over 100 yards from scrimmage, and he had a receiving touchdown. I don't think they're going to have the same success on the ground or with Kyren Williams this game, but worth noting, last time they played, the Rams did take care of business. I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the Rams here. If I were to roll with this one as a final play, and again, keep an eye on the pinned comment. It'll take you to the Guy Boston Sports site, and we'll have all of our final plays in this game. If I were to roll with this one, I don't think that 2.5 is doing it for me. I probably am going to pay a little bit more juice and snag a 3.5. I think you can get like on FD right now, minus 130 for 3.5. Give me that field goal and beyond. That 2.5, if you were looking at 2.5, you might as well take a peek at them on the money line, which I don't hate, by the way. If Matthew Stafford comes into this one, and he has the playoff experience, that's for damn sure, over Sam Darnold. If he comes in and has a good game, I think we could see the Rams either keep this close or make the big play when they need to. Now, this Vikings team, trust me, I'm not trying to rag on them or say that they have no chance. Like, if you're on the Vikings, I see the path, right? I already said they can establish the run game. Sam Darnold, I'm not going to say he's in a bad spot. I don't think he's in a great spot, but with the run game added, he may be able to do a little bit better than what those numbers may indicate. So I get the Vikings spot. I think the value here is all over the Rams, though. Again, plus 3.5 for minus 130. You can get them at plus 130 on the money line. In terms of what we have from a total, I do have a spot that I'm liking here, and it's going to be a slight lean towards the over. I don't think this Rams defense is going to be all that great at stopping the Vikings, whether Sam Darnold has a good game or a bad game. I think they can, like I've said a million times, like a broken record, establish the run, which will lead Sam Darnold into better and more favorable situations, right? Whether it's play action or him finding Jefferson or anything like that, even Hawkinson being back. Tight ends are a position that the Rams kind of struggle against, so boom, there you go, right? But if I'm seeing Matthew Stafford in this passing game for the Rams have some success, at least as I projected, then why wouldn't we be able to see a game that goes up and over the total of 48? Again, last time they played, it was 30-20. Minnesota's offense didn't really cook in that one. The Rams did what it needed to, and it still hit the over. That's 30-20. Quick math, mathematician Ev, 50 points, right? So yeah, I'm kind of liking the idea of an over 48 in this spot. I've seen some 48.5s out there, so maybe 48 is a value line as of right now. But give me the Rams as well as the over, but I do want to make it very, very clear. If you're on the Vikings, I'm just giving you my side of it. This says Ev's NFL picks up there, right? I'm not trying to say, hey, you're an idiot for taking the Vikings. This is one of, actually probably is the most, obviously all games will be concluded by this one, but prior to, this is the biggest of toss-ups in the playoff round 1 so far of the wild card. Do you know what I mean? All of the other games had a little bit more direction going into it. So I'm liking the Rams. I'm liking the over. Not telling you that you have to, okay? But let's go ahead and talk about some player props now. But before we do jump into player props, what better place to do it over on Prize Picks, right? Guys, Prize Picks has an amazing deal going on right now. Play 5, get 50. However it works for you guys. Get 50, you 10x that $5 just by placing a lineup for $5. Imagine if I said, hey, give me 5 and I'll give you 50 right back. You do that in a heartbeat, right? So go ahead and check it out. They also have tons of promos in the app as of right now for the playoffs. So go check out Prize Picks. That link will be down below. It's going to be in the description as well as the pinned comment, whichever is easiest for you. Or if you just want to download the Prize Picks app or sign up on the computer, use code GUYBOSTON when depositing and you will get this deal. And the great thing is that $5 lineup that you enter, if that hits, you still get that payout. So you could be getting that payout for the lineup and 10xing and getting that 50 instantly into your account. So go ahead and check out Prize Picks, guys. Again, that link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Now let's talk a few player prop spots that I am definitely liking. Now this one, there's a lot of red on your screen, but I still like the over for Matthew Stafford over 21.5 pass attempts. I mentioned it already, why, I like him in this spot, right? The defense aligns with what I'm seeing. If he blitzes a lot, I think he's going to have a ton of these quick passes, and that's going to lead to completion stacking on top of one another. Now, Minnesota, 15th against passing completion against, okay, but 32nd in pass attempts. I did consider his attempts, but 33 is fairly high, and even when they played earlier this year, right, he only had 34, just barely, whereas his pass completions, he blew out this line, I guess blew it out, relatively speaking, by 3 or 4 completions. So I do like the spot for him. As long as they stay in this game, Matthew Stafford, I believe the way that that's happening is them throwing the ball, which kind of also leads me into the guy that I think he's going to be throwing it to, Cooper Kupp. I really like the matchup for Cooper Kupp here in this one. Last time he played them, he had 5 receptions. It was on 8 targets, which only is a 63% catch rate. This season, he's actually averaging 67, so that is obviously good to know. Minnesota receptions allowed the most to wide receivers, and I don't really want to mess with Puka Nacua. In fact, if we do check out Puka's line, we can load this really quickly. By the way, guys, this is the Outlier tool, link in the description, 7 days free for my favorite player prop tool. You can even see me find a live line here, which is just really, really easy. But yeah, Puka Nacua, his receptions line is at 7.5. He's going up against Stephon Gilmore. He had 7 last time they played on, how many targets did he receive? 9 targets. Caught the ball 78% of the time, which is obviously a high number. So I'm kind of not loving, I think Puka could have a good game, but obviously his yards and everything are just super, super high. Whereas I think Cooper Kupp in the slot, he'll probably get Murphy, right, in terms of Murphy Jr., in terms of a matchup. I really do like this. This is also a team in Minnesota that's allowing the most passes and yards per game. I think it's most passes and then top 5 passes, yards per game to wide receiver 2s. Cooper Kupp being that wide receiver 2, the guy they will mix up in the slot, and also a guy that's very good against blitz when his team is blitz. So Matthew Stafford over in completions, Cooper Kupp over in receptions. Not a bad look. I don't mind his touchdown at plus 170 either. He did score in that game earlier this year. His receiving yards at 48.5, don't mind that either. But like I'm saying, I do think that 5 receptions should be something that he can get down and make solid. So yeah, Matthew Stafford over in passing completions and then receptions for Cooper Kupp. Now the other one here, and I don't have, I'll talk about this one and then some plays that relate to this, but you have to keep an eye on the pinned comment, taking you to the Guy Boston Sports site for that, because I don't have any names as of right now or lines, but I do have some thoughts. But we'll start with this one. Aaron Jones rushing yards and obviously touchdowns. Now you can see LA against rushing yards. They're just ranked 21st, allowing 101.5 on the ground. If we look at the split, Aaron Jones is going to be getting most of these carries, right? Cam Akers only 14% on the season. Sam Darnold's in second with 14.7, but Aaron Jones 255 carries in the red zone. He's going to be getting all of them as well. So I like him to get some quantity here. Last time he played, he only had 58 yards, which okay, fine. Not all that tremendous, right? But they only ran the ball 44% of the time. This is a team that, I guess they're right around in that spot, but I expect that uptick when it comes to playing this Rams defense, right? Like, this is a Rams defense that is soft against the rush, and if Minnesota really wants to control the pace and control the game, I think it's going to be in this dude's hands. So Aaron Jones over 15.5 rushing yards. I also don't mind him to score a touchdown. He scored a touchdown in 41% of his games so far this year. So, whether that's good or bad for the plus 125 kind of aligns there. But overall, I do think this is a decent spot for him. Last time he did play, 2 times ago he scored. I think that was when he was on Green Bay. Yeah, didn't score it last time. In terms of red zone rush attempts in that game, he did have 4. So he had some opportunities, but I do like him. Now, on top of this play, right, I am looking at a few other spots, but I don't have any lines, or I guess we could talk some specific names here, but I would urge you to keep an eye on the final plays to see if we do end up rolling with any of these. But I like some of the defensive players for the Rams in their whatever the lines may come out to be. So obviously I'll judge that when I see them, but they're over tackles plus assists. I think Aaron Jones is going to be running the ball a ton in this one. I've already kind of projected that, right? I think his attempts is at 14.5, which I really don't mind his rush attempts, but I do like the idea of some of the guys that are going to be in the, whether it's the linebacker level or the next level, the safety level, to go out there and be able to stop him. So maybe like Byron Young, something like that, or someone else that, they're strong safeties. I think that would be either Kitchens or I'm blanking on the other guy's name, right? But those guys could be potential peaks for tackles plus assists. So yes, we don't have that to show you, but that is kind of what my brain is going through now as we record this in advance of the game. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. If you did make it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 19. Lets me know that you made it 19 minutes into the video. I love these one game breakdown videos, because I can get analytical, I can get nerdy, we can have fun with it, and I love being able to look at Stafford versus Minnesota, Darnold versus the Rams, how's the run going to do, versus just kind of talking about the game for 30 seconds like we do on our big videos, right? So let me know if you do like that format. Seems like you guys do, but yeah, very, very excited for this one. Again, this should be one of the closer playoff games we have. Feel a little shaking in my boots here, liking the underdog, but it is what it is. Gives me the Rams, the over, and then those player props that we went through. I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.